we don't address a lot of injuries, but I'll give you the out for spring completely, so we don't have to answer those all the time. Casey Kelly, Ely, Dalen Gill, and DeMarco Williams are all out for all of spring. Obviously, there's a bunch of other guys that are limited or will be back at some point, but we anticipate everyone else being available at some point of spring. First day, weather kept us inside, so a little bit of logistics issues there. Just getting everything done with one field, so thought we did fine with that. Excited to get on the field. As we know, we never had a spring before, so that's a really good opportunity for these guys, all the returners. Unusual year with that because very few players are not here from last year's roster, unlike normal, seniors and attrition from transfers. So, and then having so many mid-years, I think, 14 or 15, 14 scholarship, I believe, mid-years. A lot of new people in there, so it's great to have for spring. I want to say 12 of the 14 are defensive players, and a lot of those in the back end, so creates a lot of competition there and hopefully gives some help on defense and special teams for sure.
Questions for Coach? Neil Starsall.
Hey Lane, I'm curious, is the message to your team any different here as you start spring than maybe it was, say, back in August when you guys finally got started with all the COVID testing, getting ready for a season?
Yeah, I think we're further away from that. So, this is a lot of basic fundamental work that they missed. Depth charts are in pencil. We're a lot further away than, you are in August from having to play and get things ready. So this is an opportunity where we end up playing guys in, a number of different spots sometimes, especially defensively with different personnels and looking at guys and, just get guys better with the fundamentals of football, with scheme being secondary.
You guys obviously had pretty good success last season, probably not as much as you wanted to have, but nationally you guys got a lot of acclaim, so there's kind of higher expectations externally around your program as you get ready for 2021. Is that something you talk about with your team?
Not yet. We probably will eventually, but it's good to have some energy around, and, with that comes expectations, as a team and as individuals, especially, with some players like the quarterback coming back after, which I'm sure there'll be a lot of preseason attention on that. So, just trying to do a good job and helping guys learn from experiences that, gone through as coaches or been in positions where teams or players have been, expected a lot of, and how that's been done well and how it's not been done well.
Go to Parrish.
Lane, you guys return a lot of experience at linebacker. What are your expectations for Chance Campbell?
Well, he's not here yet, so he'll be here in the summer, and we'll look at that then. I do think that if you're going to be really good in college football nowadays, you got to have more players. You got to be able to rotate and basically, too deep at all positions. It used to just be defensive line, but now because of tempo, and especially when you're a tempo team like we are on offense, you play more plays on defense, and you're back out there a lot quicker. So, if we're able to develop, too deep at all our positions where we feel really good about it, we'll be way better. So we don't have guys like last year playing 70, 80 snaps in a game.
Where do you see Jake Springer fitting in?
Yeah, Jake, we got a close look at him on service team last year. He's a really good player, nose for the ball. We've played him at different spots, but, he's a safety type, that could, play sub in your different personnels, nickel, dime, those type of things.
Go to Nick.
Are there specific positions where you feel like the depth is actually going to make a difference this spring?
Well, I know we have more bodies at certain positions because basically whatever, I don't have a percentage, but I'm going to say 90% of, your roster returned, and then you added these mid-years. So, that should, and if, a guy like Springer that was ineligible, or Mark Robinson that was ineligible a year ago that were here but weren't allowed to play. So that should be better depth. I think that's going to be specifically on defense and, with the back seven, with, like we said, some new players coming in there. And that'll create competition and make everybody better, hopefully.
How are you planning on handling the quarterback room this spring with John Rice playing baseball, and just kind of how close can he be to the team?
He was actually here this morning, early this morning, and popped in, say hi in the quarterback meeting. We let the guys, when they play two sports, which I think is unusual, we let the guys fully commit to the other sport, even though, say they're on our tab or whatever, if you put it from a scholarship standpoint. It's not fair otherwise to the player, I think. And, to see him, was able to go out to the game and see him this weekend is pretty neat for him, to be that competitive, even to make a team, let alone be on the field, in conference games, just speaks to what a great athlete he is.
Go back to Neil.
Hey, Lane, about the quarterback position, kind of following up on that. Obviously, for Corral, this is the first time in his college career that he has any continuity with offensive coordinators and that kind of thing. How much better can he be in this next season, or what do you try to do with him in this spring to sort of help get him there?
Well, not just his first time returning with a new system, but his first time having a spring with this system. So, I'd like to think that would help. I'd like to think if we had that, he would have played better. And so, now we do know some issues that have popped up, having a season of playing with him. And so we're able to work on those, and hopefully he can take the next step, from instead of being an elite college quarterback, whatever, 7, 8 of the 10 games, doing it all the time.
And I guess it's obviously super early with Altmaier, but what have been your early impressions with him from back before the bowl game to now?
Very natural thrower, very smart in the meetings, but the ability to throw the ball, I think there's too much probably credit given to coaching on that. You see a guy throw in his natural release and stuff, and to me, they either really good at it or they're not, and you ain't going to do a whole lot about it, coaching. So it's good to see that he is natural and smooth, and the ball, comes off his hand really good.
Back to Parrish.
Lane, when you have John Rice more, do you envision him more at receiver? Will you play him more there?
We don't know that. We're going to sit down with John, after baseball, and figure that out. So, because he's not here, we haven't done that. So, just like we tell the players, worry about what we can control, and that wouldn't matter now. So we'll have that discussion with him, figure out a plan, and then get that to you guys.
Looks like, it looks like you will have Otis Reese for an entire year. He was pretty productive for 3 games. What kind of impact do you think he could make for a year?
A lot. A guy that could play a number of spots, kind of has a frame that could almost play, certain spots where outside linebackers play, but he's, a natural safety. So, again, we look to improve a lot on defense, and I think having spring period, just is going to help that, because I think as you look at a lot of the first-year defenses, where the staff's new last year, there's a lot of, teams that didn't, play to a production standpoint that I'm sure they wanted to, and I think that's missing spring. So just that alone should help, plus the influence of, new players or players like that, are eligible now.
David, go ahead.
Lane, my audio screwed up the first part of this, so I apologize if this has been asked, but you signed the number 1, number 2 JUCO D tackles in the country. They're on campus. How have they kind of folded in the mix, and what are your expectations for them this spring?
I don't know about the ranking part. I didn't know that. That sounds pretty good, though. But, they're out there. On the first day, you're just swimming trying to line up. So that's why it's great to be here in the spring, so to get the spring under, because I think junior college kids, when they don't and just come in the fall, really struggle to have, really impact first years. So they both have shown on film to be talented players. That's why I recruited them. So we'll see.
Back to Nick.
What was the motivation to open up the Saturday practices to the public, and just kind of what do you think that gives the program to have fans there for those practices?
Just want to be nice to you guys, you know, let you guys there, and it's been a rough year for everybody, so just trying to help you guys out. There's no other reason.
Excellent.